Meanwhile, the US-China rivalry is getting more intense. They're locked in a Cold War, fighting on many fronts. One of the biggest flashpoints is chips or semiconductors. Chips are a strategic asset, the building blocks of modern technology. They power every gadget and device we use. And America controls the chip market. It controls the supply of the most advanced chips. China wants them, but the US has imposed supply restrictions. There are sweeping sanctions. China does not have access to chips or chip-making tools. So what does Beijing do? Circumvent the curbs. American sanctions are porous, and China is exploiting those loopholes. Case in point, Huawei. China's tech giant and a global leader in 5G technology, Huawei has defeated American sanctions, it seems. They've launched a new smartphone. It's called Mate 60 Pro. Now, some geeks decided to open it up. What they found inside was an advanced chip. It's been called a breakthrough. This chip supports the latest 5G technology. Its speed is on par with the latest iPhones. And remember, this is despite US restrictions. America has sanctioned Huawei. So China was not supposed to have this technology. How did they get it? This new chip is built by SMIC, the Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation. SMIC, it's a Chinese chip maker, partly funded by the government in Beijing. So Huawei's new phone runs on an SMIC chip. It has a name. Experts call this chip the new Kirin 9000S. It matches the speed of the new iPhones. And it's not easy to manufacture this chip. Making such an advanced chip is like creating a really tiny painting, like a microscopic masterpiece. The canvas is as small as your fingernail, and you have to fill it with 1 billion tiny paintings, so small that you cannot even see them. At the same time, the paintings have to be extremely detailed. This is how these advanced chips are made. There's a special process involved in it. It's called extreme ultraviolet lithography, or EUV for short, and you must know why this is so complicated. The canvas is the microchip. Instead of the paint, you're using light, and the drawings are transistors. What do the transistors do? They're like tiny switches. When you open a video on your computer or access an app on your phone, these tiny transistors work together to make that happen. So long story short, this process is both complex and precise. It's not an easy skill to master. Then how did China do it? How did they make their own advanced chip? Well, we don't have an answer, but we can tell you about some theories doing the rounds. Apparently, this chip was made using cutting-edge European techniques, meaning European tools were used. So did Europe supply this technology to China? Well, that is unlikely because the transfer of this technology is also restricted. Then how did Beijing get it? Two possibilities. Either China bought the tools before the restrictions came into force, or they stole it. And neither possibility can be ruled out. You see, before the sanction kicked in, China made large purchases of semiconductors, so Huawei could just be getting chips from an old stockpile. But recent reports also say that Huawei was trying to skirt Western sanctions. It is building a secret manufacturing network. Huawei has bought up chip-making plants. What they're really after is chip-making equipment. And all of this was done with utmost secrecy. Huawei is said to have hidden the fact that it owns these plants, apparently to evade Western sanctions. And the company is clearly getting help from Beijing, including but not limited to state funding. China is said to have given Huawei around $30 billion. What are the funds for? To expand chip production. For Beijing, this is top priority. They want to close the gap with America, and they're pumping in more money. China is set to launch a new state-backed investment fund. The plan is to raise $40 billion, 40 billion, and invest this money in chip making. Where will the money come from? The Chinese state will provide some 60 billion yuan. That's more than $8 billion. What about the rest? Well, we don't know yet. But we do know that Xi Jinping is very keen on the project. He wants self-reliance in technology. The Chinese president is making an aggressive push. In the past, he has pulled up Chinese companies. He said they were not making enough progress. Xi Jinping believes semiconductors are as important for the country as the heart is for the human body. Not making this up, I have a quote from the Chinese president. When your heart is not strong, no matter how big you are, you're not really strong. This is from 2018. This is what he said to some executives from a chip-making company. He wanted them to step up, to do more. And it seems he's got his wish. China is making rapid advances as America's policy of sanctions suffers yet another setback.